The microphone does not, we do not have any amplification going on. It's just really for the media, who probably doesn't want to hear me anyway. So, but I just want to know if you can't hear anybody, just signal. I would really appreciate that. Good morning, everybody. All right, good morning. That's it. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you, Sharon. Good to see you. I really want to welcome everybody to our Freight Press Conference. My name is Congressman Alan Lowenthal. I want to thank the members who are here, Representative Brenda Lawrence. I'd like to really thank some of the people. I'm not going to get there. Are members of many different offices, people who are en route to the Capitol but are not yet here. We have from Dana Rohrabacher's office, my original co-sponsor, Mark Buchan's office, Judy Chu's office, Representative Rush's office. We also have, speaking later on, will be after me, Leslie Blakey for the Coalition America's Gateways and Trade Corridors, Hasan Ikhrata, who I've known for many years from the Southern California Association of Governments, SCAG, Rick Cameron from the Port of Long Beach, and Sean Eagan from the Port of Tacoma. And also, I have notes, I'm not going to mention everybody, but Pete Nonis, American Society of Civil Engineers, is here. I'm really pleased to have Pete here. Also, they just kind of supported our bill last night. And David Lipperdijk from the Port of Los Angeles is also, and many other people are here. You know, we are here today because Congress had two in order to reauthorize MAP 21, or hundreds of transportation projects throughout the nation be thrown into funding limbo. So that's the first step. We're also here specifically to call for the inclusion of a comprehensive freight infrastructure program. Repeat this, that includes a dedicated, a protected, and a sustainable funding stream, a revenue source to fund freight projects throughout the nation. This is not a bold statement that I'm making. This is just common sense. And it should be universally bipartisan, and if you've looked at the sponsors, we are already a bipartisan bill to begin with, and we're going to get on both sides of the aisle. You know, according to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, freight bottlenecks on U.S. highways cost more than 243 million hours of delays in moving merchandise annually. These cost truckers about $6.5 annually, and untold costs to the businesses that are waiting for their goods to get to market. For example, Nike alone spends $4 million a week to carry an extra 7 to 14 days of an inventory to compensate for the congestion in the nation. Our country can no longer afford to avoid investing in our freight infrastructure. That is clear. It's long past the time that a national freight infrastructure program that really addresses the multimodal challenges of goods movement and that has a dedicated, protected, and sustainable resource is needed. And it's long past that time, and that's why I introduced the co-sponsors, House Res HR 1308. This bill establishes a national multimodal and sustainable freight infrastructure program. It also establishes a freight trust fund, critical to have a trust fund in there, and a freight revenue source which will provide $8 billion annually to freight infrastructure. What does that mean? It provides both freight formula grants to states and competitive grants to both local jurisdictions, to ports, to regions, as I mentioned, to cities, to states, and throughout the nation. It requires every state to develop a state freight plan. HR 1308 gets a little prescriptive in saying that we got to get all those stakeholders at that table. So to do that, to develop We're talking about local and regional governments. We're talking about business. We're talking about labor. We're talking about environmental interests. We're talking about trucking. We're talking about rail. We're talking about ports in the development of a plan. Everybody has got to be at the table, and even if you're going to apply for formula grants, you've got to have your state place. Critical. These state plans will determine which projects get built and how we're going to maintain, which projects are going to be maintained and fixed. The grants will pay for freight on roads, on rail, on multimodal connectors, on first and last mile projects, and on grade separations. Now, where will this revenue stream come from? It will be derived from a small, and I emphasize, 1% user fee on the cost of transporting goods throughout the United States on our ground transportation system. That means if a cargo owner has to pay $1,000 to move to hire a trucking company or a rail company to ship their goods, let's say from Los Angeles to Chicago, they have to cost them $1,000. They will pay into a national trust fund, into the Freight Infrastructure Trust Fund, $10. That's it. And that will be locked down in a trust fund to go to build the infrastructure. We think it's fair, we think it's equitable, and it's definitely sustainable. And we have secured in the bill the trust fund in H.R. 1308, so the funds are dedicated solely to freight infrastructure, cannot be taken for any other purpose. The results is that reality says there is no painless or magical solution to this problem. It's going to take all of us working together, and it's going to require a long-term investment. That's why we're here, to let the Congress know it's critically important to do that investment. Now, I am very pleased to introduce my colleague from Detroit, Michigan, the Representative Brenda Lawrence. Congresswoman Lawrence.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here today at this very important press conference to address an issue that's critical not only to the business community, to the residents of my district in Detroit, but also to the entire state of Michigan and to this nation. After a decade of neglect, due largely to the impact of our Great Recession, our roads, our highways, our entire infrastructure has reached a critical point. As you know, these conditions did not materialize overnight. As a former mayor, I know that there are no Democrat or Republican roads, and there are no Democrat or Republican potholes. That is why one of my final acts as mayor before coming to this great capital to work as your congressperson, I work with local, county, state, and federal government in a bipartisan manner to address the conditions of the crumbling and deteriorating roads in my city. I want to tell you, this road is Greenfield Road. It's a major artery that runs through my district. And due to the high volume of traffic, the road was notorious for having craters, not potholes, craters, size potholes, and suffered from heavy congestions. Last November, voters in my city where I served as mayor approved a $99 million road repair bond to address the crumbling infrastructure and increasing congestion like the one we have on Greenfield Road. The vote was critical to support the continued growth of businesses. So when we talk about our roads, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot separate economic development and our businesses. Because of this investment, a cloud computing company, Coversant, moved to my region. The bonds also help to address the need for less congestion on our road for our citizens who need safe and convenient access to jobs, schools, and businesses. I point out this achievement because it underscores what I and my fellow members of Congress must do today. We must work in a spirit of bipartisanship to provide all of our constituents with the highest quality of roads. As one of the original co-sponsors of H.R. 1308, Economy in Motion, the National Multimodal and Sustainable Freight Infrastructure Act, I'm confident that we can work toward addressing this issue and reversing a national trend in our crumbling infrastructure. This bill has many strong points, but among the most important is that it focuses on generating funds through a reasonable and responsible way bill fee, calculated at 1% of the transportation costs of the goods. It also provides a competitive grant program open to all local, regional, state governments and designed to find innovative and effective solutions to this universal problem. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what our constituents want. They want us to work together, regardless of what side of the aisle we occupy, to find practical solutions to drive our economy recovery forward. Let's give them what they want. Let's give them what they deserve. They want our districts and our states to succeed so that we can continue to grow our business base and promote prosperity and health in our countries. This bill is important. Congress, and